Who's impressed more in camp so far, Colt Emerson or Cole Young? We'll answer that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Titan Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who've been covering the team for over half a decade. And today we're going to open up the mailbag like we do here every single Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. But before we do, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTheShow.com/LockedOn and use the promo code Locked On, that's LOCKEDON, to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Kicking us off here on Mailbag Monday is Max, who wants to know, what are your thoughts on the battle between Colt Emerson and Cole Young this spring? Has your opinion changed on who you think makes the roster on opening day?
Really no reason for it to have changed. I mean, first of all, we're only a week into the Cactus League. Well, a little bit more than that, but each guy has 15 plate appearances at most. So there's not even enough of a sample size to change your mind. But also Colt Emerson, to me, hasn't been all that impressive. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't, knocked the door down. He hasn't forced the Mariners' hand or anything like that. So no, I look at Cole Young and we've heard a lot about how he came in and he's in great shape, and he admitted last year he ran out of gas and Julio told him he needed to, focus up and get in, better shape. And the Mariners told him that, and he did. And, the word around camp, I think Shannon Drayer classified it as he lost the baby fat. And, he's 21 years old. So it's not uncommon for guys to get a taste of the big leagues and be like, man, I need to change some things here. And so he did it, and he put in the work, and I think the Mariners are going to want to pay that off. And again, he's looked fine at the plate. He's drawn a couple walks, hit an absolute tank yesterday off of a lefty. And, the strikeouts are a little high right now. It's a couple of games in the Cactus League. The defense looks fine. I just don't think Emerson's done enough to kind of force the Mariners to change their mind. And by all accounts, they want Cole Young to be the second baseman, and they're perfectly comfortable having Emerson start the year in AAA and staying there for a month or 3. I don't know. I mean, that's probably ultimately going to be up to him and how he performs, but I just haven't seen enough from Colt Emerson that makes me think this guy is absolutely ready for the big leagues. You have to give him that chance, and that's what you have to do when you're 20 years old and you're knocking on the door. You have to force the team's hand, and the Mariners right now, their hand isn't forced. We'll see what happens. Maybe JP's injury is more serious than it seems like it is. That could open the door for him to make the opening day roster, but right now, no, I don't think Colt Emerson is having a better spring than Cole Young, and he's certainly not having a good enough spring to kind of force the Mariners to push somebody else off of this roster. So no, Young is going to make this team as long as he's healthy. And Emerson, to me, it looks like he needs an injury to make this squad, because he's not going to take Leo Ribas' spot. It's just not going to happen. Why would you call up your best prospect and have him sit 3 or 4 times a week? That doesn't make any sense. So to me, no. Young is still the guy, and some of it has to do with how Young's looked, which I think he's actually looked okay, despite the numbers not really saying he is. And Emerson looks fine. I mean, he doesn't look overmatched or anything like that, but he just, hasn't really blown anybody's doors off, I don't think, at least, in game. Obviously, we know he's a great worker and he's very mature and all the stuff that we've heard about. So not a shot at him, but just he's got 6 games at AAA and 50 above A ball. There's just no reason to rush him unless he absolutely forces your hand, and he's just not doing that. And again, that's fine, but that's what needed to happen. It's not happening. So no, nothing's changed in my mind.
I think Emerson's had a better spring than Young just in terms of the game production, but the difference is so small that it doesn't matter. Emerson has a couple more hits than Young. I mean, Young only has the one hit, the tank that he hit yesterday. He has a couple of walks. I think Emerson's 4 for 16 so far. Now, one of those, the biggest hit of them all, the triple, I mean, was completely assisted by just a god awful read by the center fielder for
he hit
Cleveland,
it hard,
I think it
to
was.
be fair, but
he did hit it hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was still like 102 off of the bat or something.
Yeah, no, he's hitting the ball pretty hard, but
yeah. But it's kind of like what you said though. I feel like right now at this point, if Emerson's going to make the club, he has to wow you, and he's not necessarily wowing you. Again, Cole Young hasn't been particularly impressive so far in spring either, but at least he has the major league seasoning. And if Emerson isn't just going to bust down the door, I think you just go with Young. But ask me again in a couple weeks, and we'll see. Next question here from Dynamite. What injury are you more concerned about, Bryce or JP, or someone else if I am forgetting? JP is set to DH tomorrow.
Yep.
And then he's expected to play in the field next week at some point. Yep. So he seems to be turning the corner. And then Bryce is expected to start throwing again here any day now. And we're still 24 days away from opening day. So plenty of time for both of these guys to get ramped up. But if either one of them, does suffer a setback, then I might be a little concerned about that. But for now, not concerned.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. The good thing about Bryce's injury, it has nothing to do with his arm. It's not a shoulder, elbow, finger, pec. Like it's nothing. It's a side injury. Now we know, obliques are serious things and all that, but that doesn't sound like that's what this is. And Bryce has talked about I generally have soreness in that area the day after I pitch. It's just this time it lingered a little bit, so we want to be careful. Could he possibly miss the opening day? He's not going to start until game 5 probably anyways, which would be game 1 against the Yankees, I think. But could he possibly miss that start? Could they start him on the IL and, have Criswell make a start or two just to make sure? Sure, that's possible, but I don't think that's anything to be too terribly concerned about as things sit right now. And it's also possible that you could just short script him in his first start and he only has, 80 pitches instead of the 100 that they like to get to. And you just kind of deal with that. But I'm not really concerned about either of these right now. If JP doesn't get back into the field, by mid-March, which is kind of what they're projecting right now, then that starts to get a little more real. If Bryce has a setback when he tries to throw again, then that starts to get a little bit more real. But right now, there's really no reason to be concerned about any of these or either of these injuries because A, they don't seem like that big of a deal at the moment. And also B, we won't know. It's one of those things where it's like, we can't just tell you this is how it's going to be. We have to see how they feel after they do the baseball actions. And by the way, they could do the baseball action and the next day be sore. And then the Mariners we're pulling this back a little bit. And then the following day, they could be right back out there doing their thing. This is just how it happens. It's just things that happen. And, particularly, JP's dealt with shoulder issues in the past. So, I feel like they have a pretty good idea of how to handle this. And with Bryce, again, the great news is it has nothing to do with his right arm or the right side. It's his left side, his lead side that is bothering him a little bit. And, again, it's something that he's dealt with in the past as well. Sounds Hollander said now, GM speaking, and is generally dangerous to read into, but especially so in spring training. But Hollander did say if this was the regular season, both these guys would be playing through this and they would be able to play through it. So I just think they're being cautious. And I think that's a smart thing to do when you have World Series aspirations and you already have a thin camp. Hey, let's just be very careful here. JP can still take his reps at shortstop too. He just, isn't throwing quite yet. And so it's not like he's not getting work in. And we'll just see where Bryce is at. Overall, I can't be too concerned about either of these yet. Talk to me about 10 days.
All right, we will answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel and Indeed. College basketball is nonstop. I'm talking big games, tight spreads, and momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, you name it. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So go safe, go bold, Ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data, worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or tap the link in the description to learn more. So before we get back into answering your questions, round one of our top 50 Mariners moments tournament has officially wrapped up. Now, Colby, I don't want you to tell the people here who won. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But did we actually get a winner between Felix's last game and Victor Robles' Superman catch? Or are we going to have to go to the tiebreaker tomorrow?
Yeah, so thank you to the 902 of you who voted, or the one of you who voted 902 times. I mean, I guess either is possible, but
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah, we do have a winner. We did have somebody kind of run away with it late last evening into this morning. But man, it is insane how close that matchup is with 900 people, or 900 votes, I should say. So no, we will not need the tiebreaker, but we will get our guest opinion on that. I feel like we have to. And, again, we will unveil the entire bracket on Wednesday is the plan right now. It would have been yesterday or tomorrow, but special guest and whatnot. But we might also pick his brain about a couple of the interesting matchups that are now set for round two. And there are some fun ones in there, guys. So we do have a resolution on the Felix versus Victor, and it was close, but it was not a tie. So we do have a resolution on that. And again, voting for round two will open up on Wednesday as we drop the show.
There you go. So look forward to that. All right, getting back into your questions. Sad PNW sports fan wants to know, what is Michael Arroyo's ceiling if he can't find a defensive position? His bat is intriguing, but the defense needs work.
I think the Mariners really want to put him in the outfield and see how that looks, but obviously because he was prepping for the WBC and he's going to play in the infield for Columbia, the Mariners kind of, accommodated that and had him play a lot of second, and he's taken some reps at third. And I do think they're going to, try and have him play multiple positions in the minors, but I do think that if they're looking for a long-term home for him, left field's probably the best spot. He's not a bad athlete, so I mean, it might work out fine. He doesn't have an arm strength problem either. So, it just, second base, third base, not really taken to that position. But again, nobody cared about Jorge Polanco's defense last year when he was playing second base because he was hitting, and I think that's what Arroyo is going to be. I think he's going to hit. I think this is a guy who could hit 280, maybe even 300. I think he could hit 15 home runs, maybe 20. And then, he's athletic enough to steal some bags. So probably steal a surprising number. But he's not going to be a guy who steals 30. He's probably going to steal 12 to 15. And then the defense, we'll kind of see if he figures that out or if he can at least level it out a little bit. But I think this guy's going to be a 115, 120 WRC plus hitter in the big leagues for a decade. It's a really good swing. He just uses the entire field, and he's got power to really all fields, which is not common for a right-handed hitter. It's really not that common for anybody. So I'm not all that worried about his defensive position because I think he'll hit enough that wherever he ends up playing on that given day, you'll just be like, whatever, we'll live with it.
Sure.
Like you do with players like, I don't know, Jose Altuve, who also can't field a position and nobody cares. Like if you hit, nobody cares how your defense is. And so, but yeah, like long term, I think the Mariners probably looking at him being like, he might be our Randy Arozarena replacement out in left field next year. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's a fair question to ask. Like, where is he going to play? I don't know.
Yeah. And because of that, he probably maxes out at being, a 2.5, 3-win player.
Probably
most seasons, The bat's going to have to do the heavy lifting. It's going to, that value is going to get dragged down by the fact that he's either not, maybe he's just a DH. So the value gets dragged down because of that reason, or because he's just not good at whatever position he winds up playing, which is the likely outcome here.
Sure.
You just live with it, like you said.
Right. Because I could see him being 280, 350, 450, hitting, 15 homers, 35 doubles, a handful of triples, stealing 12 bags. And you just kind of like, look, this is a really good player. I wish he could play a little bit of defense, but whatever, we're going to manage it. I mean, Randy Arozarena is a terrible defender out in left field, but if he goes 25 again, it's not really going to be an issue that we spend that much time talking about. And we don't know that he can't play the outfield yet. He hasn't really done it. And I know he didn't look great when the Mariners tried it in the winter league or whatever, but like, okay, 3 games, a 3-game sample size, your first time playing in the outfield, that doesn't tell us anything. So we'll see what happens. He might start the year in AAA. He's looked really good this spring.
Yeah.
He might start the year in AAA. My hunch is he probably goes back to Arkansas, and I think we see him really start to play the outfield a couple times a week. But they might just stick him in AAA because they know the bat, he can handle that, and he doesn't have to worry about the ballpark dragging down his numbers, and the bat will take care of itself, and he can focus on learning a position that he can actually play and perform in. And yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes, but I'm still quite high on Arroyo. I think he's going to hit so much we won't really care what his defensive value is.
Next question here from Nick. What were some honorable mentions for the top 50 moments bracket? Most glaring snub for me is Felix's grand slam. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So we talked about all the cycles because none of the cycles made it.
Yeah.
And I guess the determination was made like either we do the no-hitters or we do the cycles.
Yeah.
So we went with the no-hitters.
Well, it was like if you put in one cycle, you kind of have to put them all in.
Right.
Same thing with the no-hitters.
Right.
Because I was like, we really need Chris Bosio's no-hitter in here? And
yeah,
we went back and forth on that.
Yeah. So all the cycles we definitely talked about. We talked about like how many goodbyes do we want in this? Like Kyle Seager's last game. Do we want Edgar's last game?
How many off-field moments do we want to have?
Right. We decided pretty early on that like no transactions. Like this isn't like the day the Mariners signed Ichiro. Like no, because that just is a whole other can of worms. That's a whole other bracket, right? Top 50 transactions in Mariners history.
Yeah,
which is next month. No, so yeah, no transactions.
We got to save that for the lockout.
We had Felix winning the Cy Young early on as like a
that was in there.
But again, it was just like, look, we have Edgar in the Hall of Fame. Do we want to do like Griffey wins the MVP? Do we want to do all of those, or do we kind of want to pick and choose here? And so, yeah, I mean, the cycles were the big ones that got cut. Some defensive plays, some really popular defensive plays over the last, like, I think we briefly talked about like JP's jump throw, but it's just like, that's 2019. It's a forgotten year. So, yeah.
Toro's grand slam against the Astros off of Kendall Graven.
Yep. That one was mostly for the memes.
Yeah. That's the chills moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we talked about transactions, decided against them. We talked about winning awards. We decided against those. And then the cycles versus the no-hitters, we went with the no-hitters. Just thought they were a little more memorable.
Yeah. And Edgar making the Hall of Fame was like the only exception to the off-field stuff because of just the campaign that the Mariners ran for that for so many years.
The fan base that rallied
just the whole journey of that process, like it had to make the top 50 list to us,
right? Which is why that made it, but like Griffey making the Hall of Fame didn't, and Ichiro didn't because they were no brainer. I think they each missed by one vote. So like that was never a doubt, and then we were trying to keep it player specific, which is why Dave, not making the Hall of Fame also didn't make the cut there. So there were some really good moments that we had to cut, but I think at the end of the day, we went from, I think we had 63, I believe and then also we talked about like, do we break up some of these moments, like the game 2 comeback and the 2002 or 2022 wild card round? Do we like, is JP's double a separate moment? Is Frazier's double a separate moment? And it just like, no, we want as many different, parts of Mariners history in this as we can. So let's combine as many as we can. So
we also could have done Castillo's start in game 1 of that series. Like there's a lot of stuff that we could have done.
Right. And like we break up, like, so when you look at the bracket as it sits, there aren't a lot of moments from the same game, meaning like you don't have 2 moments from the same game in this.
It's really just game 5 of the ALDS. And then
we have the 95 clinch game. We have 2 separate moments.
Yeah, we do for that.
Do we even have 2 moments from from game 5?
From which game 5?
Of the ALDS?
Like this past year?
Yes.
Like we have the Rivas, and then we have Polo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We don't have 2 from the 95. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we could have done and we could have broken it up. But again, we tried to clump them together. Unless both moments by themselves were so iconic, we felt like we had to separate them. So yeah, there's a lot of combining of moments because I mean, I really loved Nelson Cruz's game tying home run off of, was it Sean Doolittle in the 2016 game against best game I've ever been to. But it's just like, that was game 161. They lost. They didn't go to the playoffs. So yeah, there were a lot of
like Logan Morrison's double into the gap against the Angels in 2014. We could have done that. We did talk about that one a little bit, but it didn't lead to anything in the end. I mean, like you could also make a very similar argument for the Mitch Haniger What a Night game, but we did put that one in mostly because of the call, right?
Yeah, that was a big and also like, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but we probably because we decided pretty early on, no like off the field thing, but like the letter Mitch Haniger writes to kind of galvanize the fan base and to make 2022 the year. It's like, hey, let's put Mitch in here somewhere. Right. And so, the What a Night game is, I mean, that one actually got them to 162 with a shot. So like, at least that kept them alive. Whereas the Cruz home run is like, they lost that game. So it's kind of, I mean, for me, it's a top 50 moment. That's again, probably the best baseball game I've ever been to live, but they lost. And so it's like, we got to cut some. So yeah, a lot of great moments got left on the floor. And again, if we didn't put your moment in it, it's probably because we hate you.
That's right. All right, we'll answer a couple more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking about our sponsor, MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back with its newest installment. And let me tell you, baseball fans are going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from this game. Me personally, I can't wait to fire up franchise mode and take the Mariners all the way this year. I mean, I'm going to get Julio that MVP. I'm going to get revenge on the Blue Jays. It is going to be great. Heck, maybe I'll even use some of your trade ideas from Fan Fiction Friday along the way. But listen, if you're a gamer, a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new, exciting way, you are going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise players and see if you have what it takes to win your own World Series. Visit MLBTheShow.com/locked-on and use the promo code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. All right, next question comes from Klotsalophagus, who wants to know thoughts on Brennan Davis so far, assuming, and a big assumption, he stays healthy.
I've missed both the home runs he's hit, so all I've seen him do is
I've seen replays.
And but like live. I've seen him get one hit live, and like every other time he's made an out, and so like it's like, ugh, that's annoying. But yeah, like talented dude. Obviously, he was top 20 prospect in all of baseball not too long ago.
Yeah,
I think he the Futures Game MVP one year, like 2021 or something like that. Like
I don't know.
Yeah, but he's 26, 27 now. So
and look, we say this all the time: development isn't linear.
It's the perfect dude to stash in AAA and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah,
and if Victor Robles hasn't had a particularly good spring after not having a particularly good year last year, I don't think he's in danger of making missing the opening day roster or anything like that. But if you get into June or July and Victor's hitting, $170 and you really need that right-handed splash off the bench to kind of complement, Luke or Dom, then he might be a guy. You might see him in the big leagues this year. Or if Randy gets hurt for, a couple weeks, you might see Davis get the call and him and Victor kind of split left field for a few weeks. So I think he's played himself into a spot where it's like, yeah, this is a guy we could use sometime in the regular season as kind of a role player, as a bench player. He's hitting the ball very hard. Again, we know when he's healthy, he's pretty good. He's a very talented player. There's no question about that. It's just he hasn't been healthy ever.
Yeah.
And so perfect player to stash in AAA. He's a fun player to go watch in Tacoma. He'll probably rake in the PCL, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
Talk a player who's built to dominate the PCL. It's Brennan Davis. So, and then if he can stay healthy, he might factor into the bench, sometime in the summer, and that'd be fun. It'd be fun to see him make his major league debut because these guys with all these expectations, and they hit the speed. Just like even though it didn't happen with the Mariners, it was awesome to see Danny Holtzen, get into a major league game, and these guys who probably never really struggled their entire life. They come to the pros and they struggle either with injury or performance or whatever. And just to see them, grind through it and get to the big leagues and realize their dream is always awesome. So maybe that happens with Davis with the Mariners. Maybe it doesn't. But yeah, he's definitely played his way into a conversation where we get later into the summer. And like right now, you'd call him up over Jared Sundstrom. Like if you needed a fourth outfielder, he'd be the guy. So it's been fun to see. There is legitimate buzz around camp of like, hey, this guy might, he's got some stuff. So we'll see how it works out for him. There's a chance that if he gets an opportunity, he runs with it and he never goes back down. But at the very least, he's opened up some eyes, and I think he's probably going to end up in Tacoma. Like, I don't think he's going to get a major league opportunity somewhere else. So I think he'll probably accept his assignment, go down to Tacoma, and
I don't think he can decline his assignment.
Yeah, I don't think he's got. I mean, well, he has never been in the big league, so he doesn't have any service time.
He can't decline his assignment.
Yeah. So, yep, he'll definitely be a guy to watch down there in Tacoma, and I could see him producing and start to generate some real conversation about whether he should be a big leaguer here in as early as June.
Yeah, and look, it's not far fetched to think that he's finally turned the corner.
Just got to stay on the field, man.
Yeah, stay on the field, but like the talent is very obviously immense. And we've seen that so far. And against, good quality competition as well. Like his quality of competition on Baseball Reference for spring training is 7.4, which is between AA and AAA, but no one's like a 9. No one gets a 9. No one gets even like to 8.5.
It's a pretty standard number. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like pretty good in terms of spring training opponent quality. And he's got 6 extra race hits out of his 7 hits so far.
And again, with Randy, Canzone, and Julio all off to the WBC, he's going to get lots of at-bats. He's going to get to play a lot of innings.
Yeah.
So, he's opened up eyes. That much I know for sure. But he's an interesting AAA player to watch who might be able to help you later this year. He's not any kind of like real consideration to make the opening day roster or anything like that.
NWFXC wants to know, is there any chance that we could see a 6-man rotation down the stretch with Kade Anderson in the mix to mitigate injury risk for the rotation? Not just mitigate injury risk, but also keep guys fresher for a playoff run, hopefully for a playoff run. Jerry's talked about this in the past. They've entertained the idea of running a 6-man rotation, down the stretch of a few different seasons. They've just never really had a guy that's made it worth it, though. Kade Anderson might be the exception to that rule, though.
Sure. I mean, you have to see how he looks and how much, gas he has left. You're certainly not doing a 6-man rotation so you can keep Emerson Hancock or Logan Evans in there.
Yeah.
But again, keep in mind the problem with an extra man in the rotation is it means fewer starts for Logan Gilbert and George Kirby and Brian Wu. And so you kind of have to wait, like, is it worth it? Maybe it might be, but also where are you at? Like in August, are you, 1 game up on the Astros? Do you really want to take the ball away from Wu and Gilbert to try and play that game? Or are you 3 back of them? Like where are you at in the standings? That's going to matter a lot too, because if you feel like 5 games up on the Astros in mid-August and it's like, hey, let's do this for a couple weeks, and then fine, it might make some sense. But if you're in a real dogfight with them, then you might be in trouble. And by the way, August is, forget quality of opponent, just the schedule is rough. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, hard matchups too. And there's not that many off days, if I remember correctly. So it might be possible that they would do that, especially for Anderson, assuming he's pitching well and he's healthy and he has the gas left in the tank and all that. But yeah, is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? I'd say probably not, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say that it would happen for an extended period of time, though.
No, a couple weeks, couple turns.
Yeah, I think it would only be 2 or 3 turns through the rotation just to kind of hit the reset button for some guys.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they do it. Maybe they do it before the gauntlet that is August.
Right. Maybe you do it like right out of the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So like guys, they've gotten a couple extra days off with the All-Star break. And then it's like, hey, from now until the deadline, we're going 6-man so that you guys get even more. And that way, when we get to those dog days in August and September, you guys should be fresh. And we can, send Kade back down or put him in the bullpen or whatever it is we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's like, I don't know when exactly the All-Star game is. Let's say the All-Star game is like July 13th or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like July 16th through August 5th.
Yeah.
They run with an expanded rotation. They run with a 6-man rotation.
And by the way, if you're in a position where you're adding Kade Anderson to the rotation to be a 6th man, you're probably in really good shape because that means you're healthy on the other 5 spots. And that's, not super likely. It never really is. The years where you get by using only 6 starters they're the outliers. So we'll see where they're at health-wise and all that. But yeah, it's a possibility. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. For the reason that you just said, though, like, I know we're all very excited about Kade Anderson and what we've seen so far in camp and what we've heard, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. Dude's filthy. Like, he's going to be very good very quickly, I think, as well. Yeah. I know a lot of you are like trying to figure out, like, how do we get Kade Anderson into the rotation? I think that's going to work itself out, because that's just how baseball goes.
Yeah.
Those things typically just kind of work themselves out.
Right. And I mean, he's not going to be in the rotation in April anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Mariners aren't going to push him. I mean, again, I think we're talking about June before there's a realistic shot. Maybe May, middle of May. If you have like,
I think right now, if you put him in the rotation on opening day, which you're not going to, I'm just saying, like, if he did though, could he handle big league competition? I think so. I think he would hold his own. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think he'd dominate, but yeah, I think he'd be serviceable. I mean, he'd be better than Hancock, better than Criswell, better than, Dane Dunning, but probably not as good as the guy he would be replacing.
All right. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.